Hey everybody, welcome back to Five Boys in a Business, a podcast where we talk about our family, the business, and the many shenanigans involved. You can check out the podcast on any Monday around 10:30 or so, and on any of the podcast channels, iTunes, Google, Spotify.
Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts. I am Emily King.
And I'm Richie King.
And Calvin is here today because last week he showed us or talked about, because it was his birthday on Monday, that he was getting his hedgehog. And so he really, in honor of the thousands video, really wanted to come and show off his hedgehog today. So today is a brief visit with, what is your hedgehog's name? Herman. And Calvin will be back to do a presentation on Herman because he is being homeschooled. So one of his projects will be a presentation on Herman, and he will let everyone know about hedgehogs and about his own personal hedgehog. So Calvin, would you like to introduce Herman?
Yep. So he's nocturnal, so he sleeps during the day, and he does stuff that I don't like during the night.
Like what?
He runs on his wheel.
What does he do when he's on his wheel?
He poops and he's disgusting, almost. Like, I was coming home from a vacation trip and his wheel was disgusting.
So you really had to clean it well, didn't you? Yeah, you did.
And he eats mealworms, insects, and other stuff for his treats, and he eats hedgehog diet food for his food.
Okay, excellent. So do you want to walk him over to the camera so that people can look inside his special hideaway? Well, explain why he's in his hideaway.
Because he sleeps all the time.
See him in there.
See him in there? He's in there, right there. That's right.
There.
He sleeps during the day, right? So he's hiding out in there. That's an easy way for you to carry him from home, isn't it? Yep. And he's bonding with you, so he's starting to get used to being around you so you can start to pick him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we will let you head to Dad's office where you can continue to do some more research.
Research on your iPad, other things that we can talk about.
No.
Come on.
Okay. So you are free to go, sir.
It's your blanket.
Okay. There you go. All right. You're taking your other pouch. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
You got it all? Okay.
Yep. You got it okay? Good job, buddy. You want to take that? There you go. Good job, buddy boy.
All right.
Thanks, Kelly.
So we will have Herman back as a special guest because Calvin wants to really
Really infinity. Guess what?
have him on the podcast as a special guest where he is sitting on the couch as his own guest.
Right.
Okay. Calvin will give him his talking points.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will be a great interview. Herman the Hedgehog.
Herman the Hedgehog. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So, you gotta love that stuff.
That's it.
So it's funny on the way up here, as Emily mentioned, we're homeschooling Calvin, so he and I have a lot of together time. And we were driving up here, and he said, "Can I watch your phone?" I was like, "No, just take care of Herman." So we start to talk, and Calvin, as any person his age, consumes a lot of video content. And he said, "Dad, were you born in the 1920s?" I said, "No, honey, I wasn't born in the 1920s." I said, "I was born in 1971." And he said, "Was that during the World War?" I go, "No, honey, that was about 25 years before the World War." So we kept talking about that stuff, and so yeah, and I said that was about 49 years ago almost. So I said when I was born, the war had been over about 26 years. So I said about as long as your mommy and I have been married.
Which is really weird because I remember growing up and going to the beaches in Europe where we stormed the beaches in Europe and with my family because we lived in Ireland because my dad worked at Lilly and got transferred over there to run to help start a division of Lilly over in Cork, Ireland. Mm-hmm. And so we took advantage of that and we went traveling and we went to the beaches and I remember thinking it seemed so long ago that the war was over, but really, in actuality, it was not.
About 30 years, probably. Well, a little bit over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just barely 30 years, which is like nothing.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because it seemed like it was like historical.
Well,
like,
but you think about it, you're probably, 11, 12?
And you're going on 9/11 being 20 years ago. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of what my parents probably felt like when they were visiting those areas, that it really wasn't that long ago that all that stuff happened, and walking through those bunkers and, feeling like, wow, okay, this is really, interesting and not very long ago.
It's so interesting too, though, because you think of that context that they had, because their parents are from that generation that would have been involved in that. So to them, it probably had a slightly different context. It's probably closer to them than it was to us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So they were, it's probably like no comparison at all, but our proximity, say 9/11, because we lived through it, or we lived, experienced part of it.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Right.
But yet it was. And it's another funny story. Speaking of the war, I remember growing up, my dad was a Vietnam vet. He was a pilot. And we used to say, "Oh, what was it like during the war?" And he'd get all serious and look at us and all this stuff. And I was like, as I get older, I would look at these slides and I'm like, "Yeah, you had it pretty good, buddy." You showed us a picture of his barracks once, and he had his room basically, and he had a poster of Clint Eastwood from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly up, and then a little Sony TV. Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, you weren't slogging it through the bush like some of these movies, but yeah, it's interesting. So interesting stuff."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's been an interesting Monday so far.
Well, that feeds into your thing that you said you wanted a t-shirt that said "Comfortable Once You Did."
Yeah, comfort once you did. There's this ad, I think it was on Instagram, and they have a bunch of t-shirts on it. One that says "Comfort Once You Did." And I thought it's so interesting because as you get older, you do want things to be more comfortable. And I said you this morning, I was like, I'm putting on my jeans. I was like, God, I love stretchy jeans. This is great. I was like, why do you love stretchy jeans? Because you can't really fit in the regular kind, which is not good. And I thought to myself, what's sad is that years ago I would look down on these ads in the back of magazines where they're selling slacks or whatever to older dudes. Are like, they have elastic waists. It's like, I'm one step away from elastic waists. Come on, man, get together. So. Comfort does indeed want you dead. To be uncomfortable means you're probably making progress. So
there you go. Harrison, have you been uncomfortable?
No.
Okay, well,
I thought about that during workout yesterday. I thought it's so funny because these workouts are so hard, but they're so good. They're so good for you to try and achieve your whatever level of fitness you want. And,
yes, they are.
And keep you young and as spry as you possibly can be, to the extent your body allows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday we were watching the race.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of being uncomfortable, those drivers.
Perfect metaphor.
And are you being sarcastic?
No, perfect metaphor for 2020.
Oh, I was going to say it's so. I mean, how else was the race supposed to finish? It's 2020.
Right.
So, is anybody really surprised that the race finished that way?
The only thing that would have been worse.
2020.
The only thing that would have been worse is if the feed just went dead like the last 10 laps. You're like, what?
Yeah,
you have to read about who won.
Yeah, I'm of the camp that I would have waited an hour and a half for them to fix the wall in order to race them the last 5
Oh, is that why they did it?
They said that it was going to take 90 minutes to fix that wall that
he hit?
Spencer, how he got T-boned into the wall before the pits, that it was going to take 90 minutes to rebuild it. And I was like, and?
I'd wait 90 minutes.
So, yeah, I would have waited 90 minutes, and so would have Scott Dixon, and so would have Graham Rahal. Right. And they would have been, I think, perfectly fine waiting 90 minutes. But
it's almost like you went by
default.
It was
what? Seriously? Anyway.
But as we were sitting outside watching it, and I thought, because the guy said, they're going to red flag this so they can get this, so they don't end it on a yellow.
Yep.
Yeah, not so much. So bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
But then again, the whole thing.
But then it was a perfect 2020.
Nobody in the stands. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It was not. I mean, it was a race, but
it was certainly a good race.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious because he got up and on his car and drank the milk. And you're expecting to hear this eruption.
I know.
Of fans.
Dead silence.
It was just really bizarre. Or there was another instance when I was like, oh, this is usually the flyover.
I know.
That's usually when people go bananas. And it was nothing. Dead silence. I was like, this is just freakishly weird.
I'm sure, I said this yesterday, I'm sure that Penske's like, really? I had to buy it in the year that this happened.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Just bought it, and I'm, lost the first race and everything, all the gate and everything.
But still, I'm glad they got to run it because I think that was important for...
Oh, sure. I mean, to the extent you can return to some level of normal, quote unquote. At least they ran it. I mean, they're going to have football soon. So they say.
Yep.
Let's see what happens with
first college football is Labor Day weekend. So
maybe it was the university. I think it was Notre Dame. They suspended classes for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
They did something like that?
Oh, they're all going to start suspending classes.
They're suspending
people. Can't control a college campus.
No, I think it's Purdue. They're suspending kids. Like 40 kids they suspended.
Oh, no, it was IU. They had some party. I was like, yeah, like, is anybody really surprised?
Cracks me up. I'm like,
not surprised. Like, this is like hilarious. That's even surprising.
Well, as if people aren't going to adapt. They're like, just don't party in the front yard. Go to the back and behind the gate where they can't film you from the road.
Somebody was in a car. I think I saw
No, they were in the front yard drinking.
No, I know. But I mean, I think I saw the video was from someone in a car
driving
down the street. I thought it was IU, but
who
maybe
took the
it wasn't
video? That's what
maybe it wasn't IU. I don't know who it was. Anyway,
somebody didn't get invited to the party. I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's crazy. We'll see what happens. A lot of changes afoot. I think some trends that were already happening but have been accelerated. Yeah, a lot of changes. I think a lot of changes. So one of those changes, the homeschooling of Calvin, is going fantastic. It's funny when you do some of these things, you realize how much you don't know, and you're like, I have to impart this knowledge. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'll do my best.
Yes.
But I'm reminded of first grade. We used to do this thing called the giant step There's some workbook we had to do that talked about long and short vowel sounds, all that stuff.
Right.
Consonant pairs and all that stuff. Which it's funny. You mentioned this the other day too, and I remember learning some things, but I just read a lot, so I kind of picked up things. I remember being in 8th grade, maybe we were doing English, and they were giving all these rules, and I was just reading it. I was like, well, I just chose what I thought looked right, sounded right.
All right.
Because I read so much.
Oh, I was just naturally smart, guys.
No, it wasn't. I didn't. I just made it. No, trust me, my grades, 8th grade, no.
Are you saying that about yourself, Harrison, or you're saying Dad saying that?
No, I'm just saying that about Dad, the way he said it. He was like, yeah, I just picked up a book when I was 2 and read the entire thing.
I said I don't remember learning to read, but I remember reading at a really young age, like at 4. I mean, simple books, but I don't remember. I'm sure that I don't know.
No, we read a lot I read a lot when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I did not learn any English. I learned everything from reading.
Oh, that's
good.
I
know no English.
Well, yeah, you do.
Pretty much no.
You do pretty well.
No.
But that is a skill, though, that I think that I, from a writing standpoint, probably was detrimental to my learning to be a better writer.
Yeah.
Once I got into college and stuff, and once you start to have to actually write and produce things that are effectively communicated, I probably would have benefited from knowing more of those things. But it may have just been the mechanics of writing that maybe I didn't pick up.
Right.
But yeah, I picked up pretty much everything that I knew from just reading stuff.
I just picture Dad sitting in a throne with his legs crossed, diaper, just reading like Moby Dick or something.
That Melville. No,
yeah.
that no, we didn't. We read. See, it was a different time though, because you didn't have the things the ways to communicate you do now. You had television.
We didn't have nearly as many distractions.
You had movies at the movies. This is before videotapes or any of that stuff, or you could read, or radio.
Right.
So I mean, if you're interested in a specific subject, you go get a book about it. You read about it. Do you remember the World Book? The encyclopedias?
Oh, encyclopedias, yeah.
They'd get that, the dreaded encyclopedia salesman.
The salesman.
Don't answer the door. But it's funny
that and the the person who sells vacuums, and the encyclopedia person.
That's the worst job ever.
The magazine person.
Yeah, they still do that.
Those 3 things were.
It's like, I don't need more magazines. I have a vacuum cleaner. As good as this one? Do you remember the time? I remember years ago. I think Harrison was a baby.
Oh,
Someone called and said, "Do you
yes.
want your carpet cleaned or something clean?" I go, "Yeah, sure." So I wasn't there. So this dude shows up and was there for like an hour and a half. And you call him and you're
pissed.
like, "Don't ever do that again."
It was like my day off or something. I was
Yeah, it
like, I
was.
spent it with 4 hours with this guy
Right.
during Harrison's nap, I think is what had happened or something like that. I don't remember. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
So yeah, my fault for that. But yeah, that's when I worked at one of my first jobs out of high school or college rather. I worked at a finance company, and I forget the guy's name, but he would show up in this beat up van, and he was a Kirby vacuum cleaner salesman, and he would get people to get loans on the vacuums.
Yeah.
And he would say, "I'll go to Little Follett and all these places." And he was a nice guy, but he would show up and, people would buy it and then they wouldn't, then they didn't want it and all that stuff. But he would go up in some of the, now we drive through there all the time. I mean, very rural areas.
Yeah.
So, and those weren't cheap vacuum cleaners back then. They're not cheap now.
No.
So, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
The worst, I always dread at home when you get a knock on the door. You're like, "Oh God, who is this?" They're selling. Now usually what I'll do is I'll go, "Listen, it's a numbers game. I get it. So I'm not going to buy. So you don't need to go through your pitch. Just
move on."
going down.
I had a guy. He was.
You'd be nice about it.
He was doing insecticide. Like he was selling
Oh,
that stuff.
sure. Yeah.
Yep.
He was a young dude. He was probably maybe 18 or 19, and he came over earlier before I moved, like maybe a few months ago before Madeline moved in, and I basically said the same thing. But the second time that he was around, he was really persistent, and I told him no probably like 3 times, and he was still no, because at first I said, "Hey man, I appreciate what you're doing. I just had it sprayed down. We're good." He was like, "Even for $5, you don't want?" He said he sounded so sad. He was like, "Even for $5, you don't want to do this?" I was like, "No, I'm good." And then he proceeded to write down my name. I was like, "Hey," I was like, "No, we're good." He was like, "Oh, so you don't want to do this?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Okay."
You want to play your role and give him 50? Go, "Just get out of here."
Oh gosh, that happened with the AT&T guy. Remember that when we moved in, he was so mad.
Yeah, we'd been there a while. He came and he was like, I said, he goes, "Well, just sign up for this." And I was like,
No.
And the lady said, "Well, you plan to do this?" I'm like, "No, I don't plan to do it." And then finally, it was just a mess.
Oh, remember? He was
Bro,
really mad.
You gotta go, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Bad day, I get it, but
You're
making the sale.
The guy that came to our house, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna be having trucks outside. All of the neighbors have switched over to me because it's like a third of the cost." I was like, I'm fine." I was like, "Please." I was like, "Let me get back to whatever I was doing."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Ugh, it's the worst job ever. I try and empathize with those people because it's tough. And I wonder what is the pitch they make to those guys to get them to go door to door? I mean, what's the upside?
This guy was interesting though because the way he talked, it was very bizarre. The way he emphasized stuff and it was he talked like this. He'd come up to my door and he'd say, "Sir, we are selling prime insecticide right now. It is," and he'd take long pauses like that. "Prime insecticide, and it's going to be."
Subprime.
It's like, oh my God, dude! It's like, no, I'm good.
There's a movie that you and I saw years ago called Boiler Room, and it's basically about these guys, different era, that they were cold calling people to sell securities or whatever, and somebody called him Giovanni Ribisi, I think was the guy, the character, and or the guy that played the character. And one day he's sitting in, it's Sunday morning, and he's eating his cereal or whatever, and this guy calls him to sell newspapers over the phone, and he goes, "Nah." He goes, "Wait a minute, that's your pitch?" And they go back to the pitch, about what he does, and then he goes, "So you want to buy the Times?" He goes, "No, I already get this."
The guy that came to my door though was smart. He had a Segway. He wasn't walking.
Oh.
Really? Wow. Maybe that's the upside. Good God. Maybe get a Segway. It is fascinating though how things have changed so much from a marketing standpoint in terms of reaching your targeted audience.
Right.
Years ago you'd have to go door to door, just scattershot. Who knows?
Right.
Now it's very micro targeted. Oh, you search for this. Oh, okay. Well, I want to target you with this ad.
Well, even here at the clinic, I think it's taken on that role in terms of, what type of content we're putting out to capture people's attention, but then also how they reach us, how they find us.
Sure.
Are ways of being different.
Yeah, and I think Ronnie talked about this when she was here. 'Cause she was in marketing as a younger person, but how it's just radically different. The mediums you can utilize now and how you can micro target and choose, reach the exact person you want to reach versus taking out an ad in the paper and who's going to see it. You hope.
Right.
You hope that people are going to see it. But I remember years ago don't you remember doing that? It never moved the needle hardly.
No, it never moved the needle. And I was laughing because I was listening to music this weekend and that, Harrison, what's that song? The Pina Colada song?
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about
taking
writing
an ad. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, nobody ever reads like newspaper
anymore,
ads like that anymore. But I'm like, that's so funny. That was just a form of internet dating on paper.
That's a terrible song, though. I listened to those lyrics actually. I was like, what? Okay, this is terrible.
But it ends okay.
I guess. He wants to step out on his girl. Finds a girl that happens to be his girl who's planning on stepping out on him. I'm like, what? So it's okay, I guess.
Maybe because they were both.
Maybe.
Doing it. I don't know.
That's
I'm just saying. Maybe they just thought we're not going to be mad at each other since we both were doing this.
That's one way to rationalize it, I guess.
So, well, you just ruined the
Jesus,
song.
yeah, this song. I have the lyrics pulled up right now. This song is. I was tired of my lady. We'd been together too long, like a worn-out recording of a favorite song. So while she lay there sleeping, I read the paper in bed, and in the personal columns, there was this letter I read. And then it goes into the Pina Colada verse.
Do you like pina colada?
I didn't think about my lady. I know that sounds kind of mean, but me and my old lady had fallen into the same old dull routine. So I wrote to the paper, took out a personal ad, and though I'm nobody's poet, I thought it wasn't half bad.
There you go. Famous
song.
song.
There.
Famous song.
Not half bad. Anyway.
So.
My mom, she doesn't listen to this. She used to do that with all. We were kids. She goes, "Do you listen to those lyrics? They're terrible." I was like, "I guess it's a cool song." I love it.
Gosh.
So.
So I think that was a form of advertising. How much it's changed.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a Billboard top 10 hit in the 70s.
You know what else is interesting? I just thought of this, is that how the music industry changed with the advent of MTV.
Yeah.
Because years ago, a popular song, I'm like, whatever. I don't know what this guy looks like, girl, like whatever,
right.
And then all of a sudden, you see things shift over to, early 80s, it became much more of like a photogenic kind of thing, especially with guys.
Right.
Some of the male artists, like you watch the Time Life thing sometimes, and you'll see the old artists performing. It's like, oh, good God! I mean, that's not. Right. How did you ever say like good thing you had that song there because face made for radio. Right. But anyway, it's interesting how that changed things with the advent of that new medium of bringing before it was all radio play that sold music.
Right.
Then it became TV sold music because way of micro-targeting. This channel, you can watch
just music
all day long.
Right.
Watch music videos, which MTV doesn't do anymore. So.
Yes. I remember on MTV that stupid song, the Sledgehammer song.
Oh, Peter Gabriel.
How does that go?
Ugh, I always hated that song. Sledgehammer.
Oh yeah, God.
The video's terrible.
Video.
The video's.
Oh my God.
It was like this weird.
Yes, and I thought that do you have that one, Harrison? Are you looking that one up? Sledgehammer video.
That was that weird album
MTV.
he did though, because he was from he was the Genesis, and then he.
It was.
Yeah, it's like all this claymation stuff.
It was just it was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And
a good video.
every time I turn on MTV, that stupid video would be on.
How did they do this? A bunch of stop action?
And I was like, oh my gosh. So I never watched MTV because it just so happened that song came on all the time. I did
it's
not.
It's so funny looking at this stuff
video.
though, and that was really cutting edge. But then you watch it and you go, this is kind of stupid.
Oh, it was horrible.
I can't think of any great. I remember one time I was downstairs with my dad, and there was this band I liked called the Bullet Boys, and my dad was sitting there, he's watching it. These guys had long hair and all this stuff, and he goes, "They're gonna starve." Well, they probably are now.
Oh gosh.
No, it's interesting how. It's interesting too how MTV's changed their model too. Probably in early, remember Remote Control was the first game show they had on, and where they had college students on and all this stuff. And then the Real World was the first reality show that they did in '93, I think.
It was kind of really like the first reality show period.
Like true reality show.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the first.
Oh my God, is that still that same video?
Oh yeah, it was yep, that's it. I forget that guy's name. Colin Quinn was on. He's a comedian that's still around.
Look how old.
And
that
then there
looks.
was a girl on there named Kari, maybe was the co-host. And if you got it wrong or whatever, it would flip. That's why they have seatbelts on, because it'd flip them back. I forget that guy's name. Do you remember?
No, I never watched that. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I only watched it a few times.
My remote control. The remote control or remote control.
Is that what it's called? Remote control?
Looks like it. Yep.
Okay. There you go.
Yep. Well, I mean, and to think how much we use video now, I think as a veterinary industry, there's not very many people doing that, but I think that it's really helpful for people to be able to see the people talking to them or see the people they might be seeing when they bring their pet in, or to see information about like a problem that you're treating or how to treat a problem, or like we did the video on how to clean ears and like,
right.
You know, I mean, actually being able to physically see something and how it's done, I think is appealing.
And I think people have a default sense of consuming information in a way that's easy to digest and fast. Yeah. And I think video does that. I mean, you hear people all the time, well, I'll watch a YouTube video on it.
Well, they're far less likely to read nowadays, is what the research shows. I mean,
it's way easier to just watch a video than to sit down and read a 3-page paper on how to do something.
Right.
So I've done that all the time. I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head, but I've done that a lot.
Well, we did that when we were working on the jet ski or working on...
Yeah, no help there. Thanks, YouTube.
But I mean, like, you went there to look up stuff rather than reading a manual or whatever.
The worst. Yes, never mind. The worst ever. The way they constructed that thing. Terrible. I'm sure the neighbors are going, what's he doing again?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was not good. Poor Holden. You remember he got on it? It was like, he goes, "Did I break it again?" I was like, "You didn't break it again, dude."
Yeah.
Speaking of Holden, next weekend is his birthday.
Yeah.
And
18.
next Sunday. And
yes,
my mother texted me this photo and said that Dad wanted to get this for him.
No, it's for Dad.
Oh, it's for Dad?
Dad's birthday, not Holden's
birthday. Okay. I'll take this off. I'll take it off then. All right.
Yes. No, the Garen cross country team, which now Johnny is a part of with Holden. Holden's a senior, Johnny's a freshman. Mm-hmm. Johnny's running varsity, and they ran their first meet at Brebeuf.
Yep.
Which was a conference meet. So all the schools in their conference were there, and they won the meet.
Yeah, by 1 point.
Brebeuf was ranked 5th in the state. Is that right, Harrison?
I have no idea.
3rd in the state, I think.
3rd or 4th or 5th, somewhere in there, and Garen beat them.
Yeah.
And the Garen boys should be really proud of that.
They did well.
That's a big. So I think it moved them up to like 11th in the state.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So I think they're now Garen's ranked 11th in the state.
That's cool.
So very cool.
And it's interesting to see the level. Those kids are just, and I guess I just don't remember. I'm sure we were like that at 18 too. I shouldn't say we were like that too.
I was going to say, I think you were smoking cigarettes. And
think for me, Marlboros and cross country don't mix. Hey, we still did okay.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, derailed that point. The level of fitness amongst those boys is unbelievable.
Yeah.
How well, conditioning wise, and youth's on your side, obviously.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the season. There they are. There's the winner of the conference champs. So, that was really exciting. Did Holden tell you, have they ever won conference before, Harrison?
I have no idea.
I don't know if I asked Holden that question or not. But Johnny's on the left there, and then Holden's kind of to the right of the trophy there. So good for them. That was very, very, very cool. There's Johnny, and then there's Holden. Yeah. So super proud of them for doing that, and neat that Johnny can run with Holden. I think that's a cool thing to look back on.
I mean, he was probably middle of the pack.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, for a freshman, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he had more gas. I mean, he could have gone faster.
Yeah.
But he's at that weird stage where he's just not quite old enough to probably realize what he needs to do. And
leaving sausage links in his room.
Yeah. Kappa Johnny is what we call it.
Kappa Johnny.
It's like he's a frat house. Oh, We need his aluminum foil in the windows.
I have been living in a frat house since 1997.
It's not that. Not like I don't remember Harry doing that.
Oh, Harrison did that all the time. Harrison ate
Okay.
so much candy that it wasn't even funny.
I ate candy, but I didn't leave it in my room for
He
days
ate
and
in your
days on
room
end.
all the time.
I'm not.
It was
no,
just
no, no,
as
no.
dirty. And then you guys turned this corner, like
Yeah.
at like sophomore year.
Holden doesn't
and
really
then-
do that anymore.
No, Holden is exceptionally organized and clean.
Okay, yeah.
Except for his sugar
that's
gliders.
great and all, and I hear you, but Johnny's been doing this for years. He keeps his room dirty as.
Well, you guys were
but-
all dirty when you were little. So then you decide you don't want to live in your own filth.
I come home yesterday, and you were getting home soon after that. I mean, I'd been running around all day, and the house was. I mean, the kitchen was spotless when I left. So I come back, and as soon as I opened the door, this faint odor of maple sausage hits me. I was like, oh no, hopefully they cleaned up. So I walk in there in the air fryer, and the empty wrapper is just sitting on the air fryer, and opening the air fryer, and the sausage is in there. I'm like, dude.
Yep.
So I went up there. I go, did you make sausage? He goes, yeah. I go, well, come get it. So he comes down there and he gets it and he takes it up to his room, and Holden made hot chocolate, and they don't clean the pan. I was like, dude, I'm going to buy hot chocolate. I'm going to hide the Hershey's cocoa and just buy the packets and go, if you want it, nuke it.
Cacao.
Cacao.
Hershey's cacao.
I'll never forget that. Have we talked about that on here?
I'm sure we did. I'm sure we did. But yeah, it's basically a fraternity. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do. They do okay. They generate more laundry during the cross country season. More stinky laundry.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, you guys have tongs and put it in the freaking washer. I don't want to touch it.
They probably just need to go down to the basement and take it off in front of the washer and throw it in the
Well,
washer.
yesterday before you got home, I'm straightening up real quick, right? And I walk over to the chair, and there's a pair of dirty drawers and some shorts and a singlet. I'm like, what are you doing? This is the living room. Somebody walks in there and sees these dirty skivvies on the freaking couch.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a mess. Their bathroom. God, don't even get me started on their bathroom.
Well,
Oh,
you're
my
making our
God.
house sound like it's really bad, and our house is really clean.
No, it's very clean because we clean it.
Compared to
Not because
Yeah, there's rats in the basement downstairs. They don't even poop in the toilet. They just go downstairs.
Oh god.
Just kidding. The kids are fine. They just they're boys and they're learning, and it is what it is. They all were like this.
Yep.
So yeah. Last night, I'll tell you another funny story. Last night, Calvin, we were in the basement. Did I tell you this? We were in the basement, and he was on the couch, and he had laid down, and I'd covered him up, and I was rubbing his feet or something. And I thought he was going to sleep, so I turned on this movie. This was 80s movie that I was watching or whatever, and it had some scene in it. I don't know, like it was a cop, show. And then Calvin goes, "Dad, will you please turn that off? It's doing something in my brain." I was like, "Ooh, I didn't know you were watching this. Sorry." And then he drifted off to sleep. I was like, "Great." When I inserted into that, so.
That's because he always hears me saying things like, fill your brain with good things. Don't fill your brain with bad things.
Well, the kids do listen. This is good.
And so, see, it made a difference after all those times of fill your brain with good things.
There's a story about something else with his mind, or that's what it was. The candy. Sorry, you've already talked about that.
Oh, about the candy, how he's like, my brain just told me I had to eat it.
Right.
Yeah, because we were talking about how we had to lock our chocolate in the safe.
I find that I have to lock more and more things.
In the
I have
safe.
to lock my phone. I have to lock all this stuff.
Yeah.
Lock access to the App Store. Everything.
Yep.
Yep. So they don't. Yeah, it's interesting. Have to manage all those things. What else? What do you have to manage? Nothing.
You're such a good manager. I just let you manage. I manage some things.
Whole stuff about any challenges this past weekend or no? Managing things? Are they all pretty compliant?
Yep. Yep.
We were doing homeschool today, and I said, okay, real quick, because I was going to try and get to spelling, but it's too complicated before we came up here. So I said, do your journal. I said, I need 5 sentences, whatever. And I go down, there's like 2 lines. I'm like, this is not 5 sentences. 5 means 5. Not 1.5. That's not even a real sentence. So,
Oh, God.
he's hysterical. We, yeah. He's a riot. The things that we taught, yeah. we're doing math, and you said this too. The kids want to do the tens or hundreds before they do the ones. I'm like, that's going to get you in trouble. And he's like,
you mean when you're
I don't
adding
like that."
column adding? Yeah.
So it's craziness.
It's all fine until you add in carrying. And then it becomes a
I know,
disaster.
right? We were doing time Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, I can't remember. We have a little clock, and I'll say, do 6:30, and he'll do 6:30. And he holds it up. And he got in this habit where he was throwing it, and he was like, good day, throwing it. And I was supposed to catch it. I wasn't paying attention. I go, 6:30. So he did it. And I turn around in the kitchen, and right as I turn around, it hits me in the face. I was like, oh! It's a contusion, 6:30. I lost an eye over here. One-eyed dad. So, yeah, they... you know what else he has not done? He has not ridden his skateboard outside once. I don't know why.
I don't know.
So, got him all the stuff and just sits there. He rides in the basement. I was like, yeah, that's kind of not what this is for.
It's not going to work.
Doesn't do well on carpet. Skateboard, hard surfaces, inclines.
That's right, exactly.
So yeah, he's doing great. I can't complain. He's a never-ending source of entertainment. So
always a story. We're going to put together a video montage of some of the other videos, Calvin videos, after last week.
Today he walks up from the basement. He's got the blue blanket draped around him, and I go, "What's the matter? You cold?" He goes, "No, I want to be a king today." I was like, well. All right. Go get a hoodie on if you're cold.
Oh gosh.
So he is the master of the flitting attention span.
No, he's the master of procrastination.
Oh no, sit there. It's like this worksheet could have taken you. Dad, guess what? I was like, dude, your mind, man, must just be all over the place.
Right.
You have to 3 worksheets you have to do, and we can get none of them done. So, but he's doing great. I can't think of really anything. Reading is tough for him. He tends to run on. I was like, that's a period. You're supposed to stop here. Stop. Sarah Noble said, keep your courage. And her dad said, watch out for the savages or whatever. So she keeps going and going and going. I'm like, what did you just read? Because I don't even know what you read, and I'm not reading it.
Oh, God.
Reading comp is, oh, my God. Reading comp is tough. It's, we had one of the vocab words was about a cloak, and I kept it in her mind what a cloak was.
That's such not a word.
A cake or a cape? I was like, no, not really a cape, but it's
kind of is.
Well, I know, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I might have to bring some of the reading up a bit, up. Something that's a bit more interesting.
Yeah,
because the run-on sentences are getting
worse.
I'm gonna do this book, and then we'll
see what happens
there.
Are they still doing? Do they still require students to do the summer reading stuff?
Probably.
I don't know if not this past year. No, you mean for Garen or for?
There's OG.
I mean for Garen, for any of them.
I don't think Garen did.
Mm-mm.
Serious? Oh God.
Well, I thought you guys had to do that OG. I don't think you had to do it again.
No, we didn't. Yeah, you had to do it freshman year going. You had to do it going into freshman year for whatever reason.
I don't think they're so weird though. They may have just. Who knows? I mean,
I'll never forget getting this one book for
Did you have to have a project done or something?
Oh, you had to write a paper, didn't you?
Yeah, you had to write a paper on it too, which made it all the worse. And being back then, I didn't know about like Spark Notes or any of that crap. So I and so I remember getting.
You actually had to do the work.
Yeah,
what?
I remember getting this book, and it's like 2 horses that I don't know, go on this journey or whatever. It was so long. I didn't even end up reading it. I just wrote a bunch of crap.
I do think that is one thing that's interesting that I didn't pick up for whatever reason in high school. I mean, I know the reason, but the book report, how being able to take that information and condense it down into a 4 or 5 page paper it's a useful skill. I see why they make them do that now, because you have to comprehend the information and then make it into a logical, got to distill it down to its essence. I mean, so it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, when we were reading doing the Craig Groeschel podcast about leadership, he had talked about how he reads the first sentence of every paragraph or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he likes to read so many books or whatever.
Well, no, he said he couldn't read it. He was in the seminary class, and he was getting all the answers wrong because he was dwelling too much on the minutia instead of the large
picture,
big picture items, which is interesting because I've told you this before. I find now that I read way differently than I used to. I used to read now I skim. Like if I'm reading an article or something, I'll skim it,
Yeah.
Unless when I don't do that is when we're reading a book like Extreme Ownership, I'll try and find main points. We're going to discuss it, and I'll underline or say this is the main point of this particular chapter,
Right.
or this main point and these 3 subpoints or whatever, and basically outline it kind of in the book, not literally.
Right.
But I think that's a way to take that information and condense it down, because you can't remember everything in any given book.
Right.
There's always broad concepts. You go, well, this is what I took from this. This is what I took from this. Even that Extreme Ownership, there are like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 overarching themes
Right.
that I remember from the entire thing, which is typical, I would say. I mean, you don't
Right.
To try and take everything and apply everything and remember everything. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to continue to consume books like that, because there are always nuggets here and there that you can take from them.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
A lot of the grocery stuff's really good.
Yes, he's very good.
And he has notes that I didn't realize he had notes too. I used to try and outline what he said, and I didn't realize he had notes at the end of.
Yes, everyone has a note.
So
a page.
Now I know. maybe his wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was his one that I started trying to outline because his points are that good. So.
Well, before we wrap up today, a couple of things. One, I'd like to give a shout out to Sonny's Chicken, because here in Westfield, we had Sonny's Chicken on Sunday before the race. That's always a race thing, and it never disappoints. It's always good.
I didn't have any of the sides, but they were I would tell you those mushrooms are pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't. I just like their chicken. I mean, that's what I mostly.
Do you like the strips or the bone and breast?
Real chicken, yeah.
The bone and breast, yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
So if you ever need fried chicken out there,
it's fantastic. There's
hit
one
up
here,
Sonny's.
and there's 2 or 3
it's
stores.
far away though.
Yeah.
Like this is the only one close by.
So yeah, it's good.
You
And
can
they're always
order
super
ahead
nice.
of time.
Yeah.
Order ahead of time, pick it up. Way better than KFC,
Yeah. Although KFC is pretty good.
but not as good as Sonny's.
I haven't had KFC in so long. I would have to probably say yeah.
Yeah, their chicken is so tender when it's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
so
it's
there's
fantastic.
that. So if you need a quick meal, check it out.
Yeah.
Check Sonny's out.
And I will say that I called Saturday to pick up Sunday, and they were super accommodating, and it was great.
Yeah.
So
shout out to them for
we've used them a
race
lot.
chicken.
I mean,
every race day.
every race night. I think the most recent besides that would have been Big Hoffa's.
Yeah.
But that's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
A few races. Do you remember the last race you went to? I can't. I was thinking that last night when we were talking. I don't remember the last one we went to.
It was probably when you and I went.
At least 10 years ago.
Oh, longer than that.
Yeah, probably way longer than
It was
that.
before Harrison was born, probably.
Huh?
I don't think we went after Harrison was born.
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Yeah, Harrison was born in 97. First race I went to was 95.
Right.
You think it was like 2000?
I
It
don't
was
know.
before. It would have had to been when we lived in the Edinburgh house, because pretty much every year, almost every year, we've had the race party at our house.
Right.
And we've been there 13 years, which is something else Calvin and I talked about today. He said, when did we do something? When did we move? Was I a baby when we moved here? I was like, no, honey. You're 07, you're born in 2011. So you were a baby. We brought you here.
Yes.
So
Grandmom said we did too. Jim met Richie there.
Yes. Yeah, my sister likes Sonny's as well, so she got Sonny's chicken
Jim there.
on Sunday too, because you saw Jim there.
yeah, it was it was good.
So, and all the girls here at work like their mac and cheese, so that's a shout out for their mac and cheese.
Their mac and cheese is good.
So that, and then
Although your mac and cheese is the best.
yeah, my mac and cheese.
Your
is
mac and cheese is redonkulous.
especially if you use Traeger coffee rub with it.
Oh,
It's to die for.
don't we put something
And bacon.
Traeger? You put bacon and don't breadcrumbs or something go on top, or is that like the bake, or is it just the coffee rub?
Well, you can make it that way, but the last time I made it, I just put the coffee rub
Oh,
on.
it's good. It's deadly.
Maybe I should make that tonight.
You can't.
Okay.
You can't just stop with that. It's really
Well,
good. Big
yes,
shout
it
out
is.
to Traeger too. Thank God for Traeger when they work,
Yes.
which it does now.
So you can catch us out. We're going to catch us up, catch us out, check us out on Mondays.
Do you want to do?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're just, yes, because I was going to show everybody. Don't forget the ASPCmerch.com.
Good segue.
So we have our little model here. This is Caroline Harvey, who is modeling the onesie, the ASVC All-Star onesie. She is absolutely adorable. There she is with Caroline's corgis. And so we saw that picture and just wanted to give a shout out to Caroline, say hello, and the baby's awesome.
Very, very
and let everybody know you can't have the baby if you order the shirt.
It's not a promotion.
It's not a baby with a shirt,
with every
but
order.
you can have the onesie for your baby.
There you go.
So check out ASVCmerch.com. Check us out every Monday, somewhere around 10:30 or so. And we're going to be lining up. We're working on the lineup for the next set of special guests coming up. So if you guys have any special guests you want to hear from, or you yourself want to be a special guest, please let us know. I'm Emily King.
I'm Richie King.
And we'll see you next time on 5 Boys in a Business.
We're out.